All righty, everyone. Okay.
Okay, so welcome to Tech Talk number 3, not number 6. Maggie and
Number
I,
6.
number 6, yes, go ahead, Max. Maggie and I are actually right now in Rio de Janeiro. I was going to look for a picture of us drinking coconut water at the beach, but I thought that would be too cruel. We can actually see the Christ Redeemer from the top floor of where we are right now. So it's super cool. We came here to celebrate my mom's 90th birthday. So we're here on vacations. All right, next. And we are recording this session, like I said just now. And in case anybody wants to know how come, for example, I didn't say anything about SHRM numbers. I don't know if there's anybody in the room who needs SHRM numbers. The issue is that SHRM requires that when you assign a number, that it matches the SHRM body, what is called the SHRM BOK or the SHRM body of knowledge. And time management is not really anywhere. So if you can find, because technically you don't need a number to require credits from SHRM, right? But if you can find a place in the BOCK, the body of knowledge of SHRM to request credit for this time, you will certainly receive a letter from us saying, hey, thank you for participating in the session, the title of the session and everything else, but I couldn't come up with a way to come up with SHRM numbers. That's why I didn't indicate any in the invitation. All right. And with that, I wanted to introduce Maggie. Maggie is actually my daughter. I absolutely love working with her anymore. And one of the things that Maggie and I have in common, one of the many things we have in common, including loving music and loving pets and, dogs and cats, is that we also love technology together. But Maggie has developed this huge love affair with productivity tools. So we're letting her take care of the productivity tools time. And that's why she is our guest presenter today. And I will just shut up and listen and learn. And Maggie, you're on.
Hi, everyone. It's really nice to see you all today. I'm super excited to be talking to you. So like Bob said, my name is Maggie Wildermuth, and I am going to be a PhD student in the fall. I'm starting my first year as a clinical psychology student at Gallaudet University, so I'm super excited. And I love productivity toys. You can tell by my use of the word toys. A few years ago, I went on this big journey to get me and a bunch of friends of mine organized, started looking at every digital tech toy I could find under the sun, and started really learning quite a bit about productivity tricks and things like that. So I'm super into this, and I'm super excited to be sharing that knowledge with you guys today. All right, and if you have any questions at any time, please don't hesitate to unmute and stop me, or put something in the chat and Mom will stop me. I want to make sure that I'm being clear to everybody and that we get your questions answered. So, all right, so today's Tech Talk is all about using apps and different tools to enhance your productivity and be able to pick the life that you choose. So I want you to have all the tools that are necessary to prioritize your priorities and your values, and make sure you're using your time most effectively. So today we've got a lot of information to cover, and we're only going to kind of hit the surface of productivity tech tools, but hopefully I can give you a few tips and tricks along the way. So the first thing I want to go over is a quick terminology clarification. So what is a task manager? Usually in productivity land, there are multiple different systems that you can use to get yourself organized. But the two major systems that people are going to be talking about are a task manager or a time manager. Your task manager is your to-do list. So your task manager is where you write down the things that you have to do. And this thing that I really want to clarify with this slide and the next one is that a task manager is not a calendar. A calendar is a time manager. It tells you where you have to be. It's where you write down that you have an appointment with your boss at 4 o'clock or lunch with a friend at 12. It isn't usually where you write down your tasks unless you're doing a specific kind of productivity thing called time blocking, which is when you schedule your tasks. So typically in digital task managers or digital productivity tools, your time manager, your calendar, and your task manager, your to-do list, end up having to be two separate systems. Depending on which tool you pick, you may be able to get said systems to communicate with each other, but you're probably not going to find a system that has both in most cases. So that's just a warning there, is if you use a digital task manager, you're probably going to need to have a separate calendar of some kind. So we're going to start with a quick little icebreaker. We're going to put you into small breakout rooms, and I want you guys to discuss 2 questions for a couple minutes. The first is, what do you use right now as your productivity system? And please do not feel embarrassed if you don't have one right now. That's what we're talking about today. But what do you use right now to make sure that you get your tasks done and you remember what you're supposed to be doing? Do you use a planner? Do you use an app? What do you use? The second question that you're going to talk about is, what are your goals with your time or task manager? What would you like to feel like? What would you like to get accomplished? So Mom, if you would be willing to set up those breakout rooms. And does anybody, by the way, need to stay in the main room because they need the captions? You can send me a direct message if you need to. That's totally fine. Cool. Mom, you are muted.
How much time?
3 minutes. Keep the group small.
Okie dokie. Let's see. Breakout rooms close after 3 minutes. And here we go. Open all the rooms. And Maggie, you're going to be invited to go to a room too. Just stay behind. Okay, Mag?
Roadmap for the day. Oh, recording is in progress. Okay. First of all, we're going to talk about why should you use a digital task manager instead of a paper planner? And conversely, when is it not a good idea to switch from a paper planner to a digital task manager? Because there are some reasons why that would be a bad idea. And then we're going to go through some quick demos for Todoist, Habitica, and Trello. I picked these things because they're pretty good examples of what's out there, and I also think that they're really functional and nice and that you guys will like them. So hopefully that ends up being the case. And we're going to talk just very briefly about some other tools that are out there on the market. So why should we use a digital task manager? Other than why should we use a task manager in general, to keep ourselves organized and for all the reasons you guys identified during the icebreaker earlier, digital task manager is typically simply easier to use than a paper system, unless you've got a super simple paper system like sticky notes, which have a different problem, or a very simple to-do list on a piece of paper by your computer. It's typically easier to type something into a system than to write it down on a piece of paper. It takes less energy. So some people feel that there's less barriers to entering a task into a digital task manager than a paper one for various reasons. It's also harder to lose, which is a really important thing if you happen to be somebody who constantly misplaces your keys, your planner. we typically pay quite a bit of attention to our phones and our laptops, which are really expensive and difficult to replace. And a lot of people will pay more attention to those than, say, a $20 notebook that they got at Walmart, regardless of how important that $20 notebook or paper planner is. So if you're somebody who constantly tends to misplace things, a digital task manager may be simply on something that you're less likely to lose because you're kind of paying more attention to it. Also, many task managers, and all of the task managers I'm going to show you today, do upload to the cloud. That means you can access it from any piece of technology anywhere that you are. If your phone dies, if your laptop crashes, you can borrow someone else's laptop in your house or your neighbor's laptop, and you can access your planning system that way. And that's extremely important because your planning system should be your brain dump. It should be where you put stuff so that you don't have to remember it and that you don't have the stress of having to worry about whether you forgot something. So if you lose access to that task manager, you no longer have your external brain drive. Digital task managers, it's much harder to lose access to it than a paper one that doesn't have a backup. Third, automatic reminders. And this is great if you have trouble remembering to check your planner. With digital task managers, you can usually set them to give you a push notification or an email or something to that effect when you have something that is coming up due, which is a great system if you are somebody who, again, forgets to check their planner. A planner doesn't remind you that you have a report for work due on Friday. Digital task managers also make it easier to sync schedules with a huge team. So if you are on a huge team at work, you do a lot of very complicated group projects. A lot of digital task managers.
I'm gonna go
Yeah,
work
what's up?
from home.
Okay.
So I'll be there and I'll Zoom that will be, and I'll update the meeting requests
I
for
think
one
somebody's
to
not
put in the
muted.
new stuff.
You're not muted.
Yeah, and then we'll do the
Can you
final
turn on your
one.
mute?
Okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks.
Okay, cool. So we were on syncing schedules. If you're on a huge team at work, right? One really good feature of a lot of digital task managers is you can have a group of people together and you can have a whole project together and assign people tasks, and everybody can see which tasks were assigned to which person and which tasks got checked off and when they got checked off and when they got done. So it facilitates communication in these big complicated group projects really easily. Finally, digital task managers just simply tend to have a different structure than a paper planner and tend to have more structure than, say, your sticky notes, your random paper. And some people simply tend to like the slightly more flexible structure of a digital task manager than they do a paper planner. A paper planner tends to have a more rigid structure that tends to make some people very angry, me included. I hate those tiny boxes. That being said, if you like paper, feel free to keep using paper, whatever paper system you like. If it's working for you and you're getting most of your tasks done and you're not stressed about it, a paper planner is great. It's an oldie, but a goodie. Please keep using it if you like it. You don't need to move into a digital task manager because it's shiny. And in fact, digital tends to work better for people who are naturally disorganized. So if you have a tendency to misplace things, one of the things that you misplace may end up being your planner. So if you have a tendency to lose things, a digital task management system is, again, a lot easier to use. And the structure is also often a little more flexible. They don't necessarily have those tiny little boxes that tend to make people angry about paper planners. For some people, that looser structure that is still a structure tends to work a little better, at least in my experience when working with people who need help getting themselves organized. It also works better for people who are always on their phones. So I'm a big proponent of use a system that works with the life you already have. Don't make using your task management system a huge effort, or you will never use it again. So if you're already on your phone or you're on your computer, if you're already constantly looking at it, it's super easy to just type in the address of your task management app or open up the app on your phone and check your planner while you're there. Perfect, works with your life and your preferences. It also works really well for anybody who's on Teams, again, because you can coordinate things really easily and have really open communication with the digital system. You can't do that when everybody's working with paper because there's no way to send paper digitally. Are there downsides to a digital system? Yes. The big one is it's on your phone. So show of hands, thumbs up. Who here has ever went to check something on their phone, their email, something for work, and then ended up 5 minutes later down the Facebook or YouTube rabbit hole? I have been there. Our phones are distracting things, right? I get push notifications for solitaire, which is not particularly helpful to my work life. If you have a push notification or you see an app that is distracting, you might think you're going on there for a minute before you check your planner, and all of a sudden you are down the rabbit hole. So there's a couple of ways to combat this. The first one is quite simply to minimize the number of push notifications you have on your phone. Just make sure that anything that is set in your settings to have a push notification is something that actually needs a push notification. So take out the games, take out Google News and stuff like that. The second thing that will help is having a visual or auditory reminder on your computer to get back to work. So you can set a sticky note on the corner of your laptop that says get back to work, or you can set a timer when you're about to go check your task manager app. And for like 5 minutes. So if you end up going down the rabbit hole, it'll ring and you'll be reminded that you need to get back to work. And if you didn't go down the rabbit hole, you just turn the timer off. These are both really pretty simple solutions, and most people just need that gentle reminder. If you're really struggling, there are apps that will block distracting websites from your computer while you're working, or block the distracting apps on your phone. The one I've used for my laptop is called Cold Turkey. This is a really nuclear option because these apps have a tendency to basically shut off any of the blocked websites on your computer until the timer goes off. There is absolutely no way to subvert them. They, can really mess with your computer functioning. And if you need to get on a certain website that you blocked for a legitimate reason during the workday, the one that's most commonly reported is YouTube, then you're really out of luck because there's absolutely no way to subvert the system. And believe me, I have tried. So it's a big nuclear option. Basically, the only time I would recommend it is if the gentle reminders are not working and you're really struggling with that self-management of getting yourself back on track. Most people can handle it with just the gentle reminder of a sticky note or a timer or something to that effect. Additionally, one thing, what's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something really quickly that for everyone's benefit, whenever Maggie mentions like something quickly, like an app, like she just did, the app that blocks everything from you, she's going to put all those addresses on her website. And then I would say within about 24 hours or so, expect a letter that comes straight from Eventbrite, and it will just tell you the address where you can find all those links. So don't worry if you don't have all those links at the end of the session today, because you will receive them.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Mom. All right. The second downside of working with digital planners is quite simply that they just don't tend to be as pretty or original as a lot of paper planners. Paper planners tend to come in a lot of colors and designs and themes. I saw a Disney planner once. It was awesome. Digital planners tend to be a little bit plainer, although I am going to show you one today that's really cool. It's part of a set of planners called gamified task managers, which is really awesome. But most task managers, especially the more functional ones, tend to be plainer. So that's something to consider if something that's really motivating to you is something that looks pretty. And the final downside, and this may go without saying, if you're really bad at technology, again, don't expend a ton of effort using a task manager that doesn't fit with your lifestyle. If you struggle with learning technology, it is perfectly okay to stay with a paper planning system that works. All right, so before we move on, does anybody have any questions? Okay, in the chat really quickly, will everybody will you put a yes if you are considering switching to a digital task manager? Okay, we got one person. 2, 3, ooh, we got a few people.
Yeah, there are several.
Nice. Okay. All right, so the first app that I'm going to demo today is an app called Todoist. And the reason I am demoing Todoist is because it's a really good representative of a lot of the productivity apps on the market that are designed with a working professional in mind. A lot of these apps have very similar functionality. They work very similarly. So if you learn how to use one, you can probably figure out how to learn how to use another one fairly quickly. And I think Todoist is one of the more functional ones out there. It's really nice. All of the apps I'm going to show you today are freemium services, which means there is a free version for all of them, but you can pay for additional features or to help support the tool. In many cases, it depends on your situation, whether that's worth it. In most cases, no. In some cases, yes. And we'll talk about that a little bit. I will also say that I am not in a paid relationship with any of these people. I, in fact, do not know the owners of any of these apps. If you know them, please send them my way because I love their work. I'm just recommending these to you because I think that they rock and they're awesome.
Hey, Max, we can't
Okay,
see.
so what's up? Oh. Yep, it keeps doing that. All right. So here we are going to my Todoist. So welcome to Todoist. This is the main page of Todoist, and I'm going to quickly orient you around to some of the major features. So this is my daily task list. Todoist generates a task list every day based on the tasks that you enter. And that's the great thing about Todoist is it allows for really strong advanced planning. So I can put in a task that is coming due months or years from now. And I can put in, say, you know, I need to schedule a doctor's appointment on August 12th, 2022. And a year from now, it's going to show up on my task list today, you know, that I need to schedule a doctor's appointment, a task that I scheduled a year ago. So Todoist allows you to basically schedule tasks whenever you want in advance, which is really nice for people who need that advanced planning. It also has multiple projects over here. So you see over here that I have all these little projects. I have a task list for a class that I was in. I have a task list for my self-care. Yes, I know it says evict rat from car. Don't leave your car not running for a while. That's all I will say on the matter. I have projects for research projects that I'm in, and you can see all these tasks. So all of these tasks are sorted into my different life domains, and that helps keep Todoist a little bit less overwhelming because you put in the due date of the task that you need to do, and it'll show up on your today's task list, and you can have like everything separated. And that really helps with your long-term planning. It looks very clean on your daily task list. So another way that Todoist is really nicely designed is that there's an add a task button on basically every page you can possibly go to, on the upcoming, on the today, on the inbox. There is an add a task button, and that add a task button will allow you to add a task anywhere. You can see that it's automatically adding a task to my today's task list when I pull this up. But if I put in the correct command, it will send it to tomorrow's task list or a task list 3 days from now. I can just add a task from anywhere, which is really convenient. So all I have to do to add a task is click the add a task button and then add the task. And then Todoist, this is again a really lovely feature. Todoist has a bunch of hotkeys. Hotkey is a command that you can type in and it will automatically do something to the task. It'll send it to the appropriate task list. It will schedule it for a date. It will give it a certain priority, what have you. So let's say I actually want this task to be tomorrow instead of today. All of the hotkeys in Todoist, especially the ones for dates, are exactly what you think that they are. So I can type in that I want to do this tomorrow, and you see that little red thing. That means that Todoist has scheduled this task for tomorrow, and as soon as I click an add a task button, it will automatically go onto my task list for tomorrow. And I can do the same thing if I wanted to get this done Friday or
Mag, we stopped hearing you. Maggie, we stopped hearing you.
once you check it off every day. So you can't see it upcoming, but it will be moved onto your task list every day. So that's something to just keep in mind. In order to move it onto a list of my choice, I just put the hashtag and then I put the name of the list. So I'm going to move this down to Maggie's self-care. And it will show up on the Maggie self-care list. I can add a label. That's not a function I use very often, but you can do that. You can set a priority level. Again, not a function I use very often because Todoist allows you to easily sort tasks. So I can drag one task above another, and that's how I usually sort in priority order. However, you can also tag it as priority 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then it will color it. I will tag it as priority 1, so you'll see how it does that. And I can also add a reminder. This will send you a notification when you're, whenever you ask it to do that. So that's really nice. A quick thing that I will say about, I'm going to tag this to tomorrow so you can see how that works. You can also add a description. Few tips that I will give you that will be applicable to any productivity app or even your paper system, paper planner going forward. First thing is make sure that you are putting enough information in your task that you will know what it is a month from now when you have completely forgotten everything involved in adding that task. I will never let Mom forget this. We were setting up her Todoist once and we found a task that had been written like 2 months before that said find book. What book? Why do we need to find the book? What are you supposed to do once you find the book? None of that was on there. All it said was find book. As you can imagine, she did not find the book and we just deleted the task. So I promise you, no matter how much you think you will remember the task in context, you probably won't. Make sure you have enough information here that you know what you're supposed to be doing once you forget the context of this task. And the nice thing is that Todoist now has a description box. That is a brand new feature. They did not used to have that in the free version. So you can type some notes to make sure you remember exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So I'm going to add this task and see it disappears from my today's to-do list, and I can go to my upcoming to-do list and see that it's there for tomorrow. When you tag something as a priority, it will circle the little red thing in the thing in the appropriate color. It's usually gray. This one's red, and that will remind you that it's priority 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Also, if I go down to my self-care list, you can now see that I have a priority 1 task for to add this task to tomorrow. And again, I can drag this around. So this is how I usually order it. Another thing I will quickly tell you about due dates before we get into checking off tasks and things like that. Regardless of what productivity app you're using, first of all, make sure you always add a due date to a task. If you do not add a due date to a task, unless there's like a specific system for that, which I'll show you in Habitica later, you're never going to get it done. You're never going to perceive it as urgent, and things that are more urgent but possibly less important will constantly be prioritized above your tasks. So always make sure a task has a due date, and that due date should not be the actual due date at work. Productivity lesson, big important. If you remember nothing else from this presentation, remember this: always schedule a task on the day you want to do the work, not the day that the task is due. Here's why. You're only going to remember that this task exists when it pops up on your to-do list of the day, or when you see it on your planner on your to-do list of the day. If you do not schedule it for the day that you plan to do the work rather than the due date, you're only going to see it on the due date unless you are really practiced in looking ahead. And a lot of people who are struggling with productivity are not. So what ends up happening is you're scrambling to get this task done before the due time at noon or whatever, when really you should have started it 2 days, 3 days beforehand. So make sure that you're scheduling it for the day you want to do the work and not the day that the actual due date is due. If you want to put in the due date for reference, you can just simply do that here. It's due February 26th. I'm really glad that Todoist lets you do this now, because they didn't used to let you do that. Another thing that Todoist does that is really helpful is it has a really good subtask feature. This historically has been something that a lot of productivity apps kind of struggle with, but let's consider, say, the task is not to add a task, it's to write a report at work. I'm sure a lot of people here have experience with this particular task. Well, writing a report at work is not necessarily one task, right? It's actually several. So I have a report at work due. I need to read the emails from my direct reports. And I need to analyze the survey data, and I need to outline my report. Then I actually write the report. Then let's add in some time to read the report so I don't give my boss a report of a bunch of typos, right? And now with Todoist, no, I don't want to do that. Now with Todoist, I can go, okay, save really quick. Now I can go in and I can schedule each of these for a different daily task list. So I can schedule this for, say, Saturday. And it will show up on Saturday's task list, like magic. Fantastic. And then I'm just going to quickly check this off, and that'll get rid of the whole thing. And that's one great thing about Todoist, and that's one thing that I really like about Todoist among other productivity apps is that they track your number of completed tasks. They have this very light little pane over here that's gamified. And the reason I like that is a lot of people struggle with remembering to check their planner, finding the app, gosh darn it. You can just, it's just right up here. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to check it if you don't want to. It's not going to interfere with your life any, but for people who need it, it's really nice. And the final thing I'll show you about Todoist that I really like and is really helpful, especially if you're required to use certain apps like Google Calendar, Outlook, stuff like that at work. Todoist has a lot of integrations. So an integration means that it talks to another app. So Todoist, basically at this point, if I have searched for an integration, it has had it. It can integrate with AnyDo. It can integrate with Google Calendar. So it will allow you to schedule your tasks to be specific times. So you can use it to time block. And you can treat your tasks like an appointment. I know somebody said that was something that was really important for them. It can integrate with Trello. It can integrate with something called Toggle, which is a time tracking app that we'll talk about briefly. It can integrate with basically anything I have thrown at it, and that is really awesome. That can be really helpful. So that is Todoist, and I'm going to have you quickly hi, Mom. Can we set them up in breakout rooms for just a couple of minutes, and everybody can just in pairs. And I want you to say what you liked about Todoist and what would make you hesitant to use Todoist.
We can accept that I made you the host because I was having internet problems where I am, and I didn't want
I can do that.
Here. Did you make me a co-host?
I actually think I can.
Yeah,
just
just
like I can.
Put people in the breakout rooms.
Yes. Okay.
That was helpful. Okay.
Which is when we found Find Book.
That's your thing. You use your secretary instead of a calendar, task manager.
Right. As we should all have one, right?
I do. I use Alexa. That's my task manager.
Yeah. Chris,
Hey,
will you be our
works,
assistant
works.
too? Our virtual assistant, Chris?
I actually am starting a coaching business, guys. So if you're interested.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, Maggie, you only have 10 minutes more, so you're going to have to breeze through Habitica and Trello. Maggie? Yeah. Maggie, we can't hear you.
Can we not? That is great. Can you hear me now?
Yes. You work with
Sweet.
Verizon?
Welcome to the pandemic, everyone. All righty. So, Quick summary of Todoist. It's really user-friendly. It's designed in a way that's really nice. The integrations are really strong, especially if you need them. Super helpful. It's good for having multiple domains of your life, though I will add in the caveat that they just recently, like within the past couple of weeks, made the rule that you can only have 5 projects unless you like had more than 5 projects before they started, and then you're kind of grandfathered in. If you want more projects than that, you can either pay for it, or the workaround is just to have 5 like lists and then put a bunch of sub lists in those lists, which Todoist does allow you to do. However, that is something that is brand new and is a little irritating. It's very good for advanced planning because you can put in that task a month or a year before you actually need it to come due, and it'll show up right on time. It has a fantastic subtask function, and just like all of the apps that I will show you today, it is both phone and web accessible. It updates to the cloud, and it has a very good app that you can access on your phone as well as a web browser. It used to be worse for adding notes to your tasks than it is. It's still, a lot of those things are still paid features. However, with the addition of the description box, it has gotten a little better, but it is important to still make sure that you have enough information in the title of your task and the description box that you will be able to figure out what you're supposed to be doing. What questions do you guys have before we move on? Cool. I'm going to move on if everyone's cool with that. All right, so now we're moving on to one of my favorite toys. This one is called Habitica, and it's a good example of a group of task managers that are called gamified task managers. So these are task managers that literally somebody has added video game mechanics into to turn doing your to-do list into a game, which some people here might be thinking, uh-oh, but I love it. It's super motivating. It's much more, it's easier to build the habit of checking your task management system when you get rewarded for it. It's super fun if you're looking for a fun planning option that is motivating to use. So I'm really excited to show you guys this one. And Habitica is probably one of the most functional of kind of all of the ones that I've tried. So welcome to my Habitica page. The first thing that you come to is your task management page, very helpfully. I really like this way that they separate to-dos. So they separate it into habits, dailies, and to-dos. This habits page I think is really cool. Habits is a place where you can put tasks that are important, that you need to do them, but they're on a super variable schedule. You don't know necessarily when you need to do them. And, you know, they don't have a due date. So this is a mechanic that lets you prioritize the tasks that are important, but not necessarily urgent. So I really like that. So for example, down here I have, you know, I would like to do 10 minutes of cardio on occasion. Every time I do 10 minutes of cardio, which I did yesterday, I can click this little button and I will get rewarded for doing that. So that's very cool. Your dailies daily size is a bit of a misnomer. This is for your recurring tasks. It's the same thing as the recurring tasks in Todoist. So these are the things that you do daily, once a week, once a month, once a year. You can even set it up for every weekday, 5 times a week. I've done that before. And one thing I like about Habitica too is Habitica is really geared not only towards you getting your work tasks done, but also getting personal tasks done. A lot of people use it for getting their health and wellness tasks. So you can see I have my daily workout routine on here, which is not a work task, but I have it on there and I get rewarded for checking it off. And then your to-dos are your things that you do, you know, more rarely, once or twice, and you don't mind typing them in every time. So I'm going to quickly, one quick thing about the dailies that is a bit of a problem depending on what the daily is. It does go gray if you did not have it for the day. So like, let's, for example, say I only want to meditate. I don't want to meditate on Wednesdays. If it happened to be a Wednesday, this habit would go gray, even if I hadn't done it the day before, which is not a problem for meditating, but could be a problem if you're splitting a task into, say, something that you need to do every day over a month, and you need to make up for what happened yesterday. If the task is grayed out because you didn't schedule it for that day, you won't be able to get the credit for yesterday, and you have to manipulate it. So I'm going to quickly add a to-do here. In my to-do list, I just type it in and I hit enter, and congratulations, it is a to-do. I can go in to edit it. Habitica does have a note section just like Todoist, which is very nice. It does allow for subtasks, so the checklist here is where you add subtasks. Unlike Habitica, you cannot, unlike Todoist, you cannot add separate to-do dates for the subtasks. So what I do when I need to do that is I just add the due date right here. I don't know why I keep adding all my due dates as February 25th, but that's what I've been doing today. And then just looking at it, but it won't add it to a separate daily to-do list like it will with Todoist, which is a big detractor. I can also add how difficult this task is going to be, so I can make it harder or easier. That's going to impact something that's going to happen later, but it's going to impact the reward I get for checking this off. I can set a due date, which is nice. So I can say this is due on the 15th or something to that effect, or I can say it's due today. And then I can add a tag. The tag is similar to the projects mechanic in Todoist. The tag basically tells you what the thing is for, and you can add tags for every part of your life. There is no limit like there is in Todoist. So for example, I have tags for research. I can add tags for any project that I'm given at work. I can add tasks for, home life, school, things like that. So the tags are nice. I'm going to call this a research task just for the sake of example. I can save, make sure you save the task. If you just click off, nothing's going to happen and it's going to be deleted. Now in Habitica, you can filter by the tasks. So if this is a research task, I can filter everything that's a research task and see only my research tasks. However, you cannot filter by the due date. And that is one really kind of bad detractor of Habitica, is that you cannot filter by that due date, which means it gets really overwhelming if you try to put an entire 6 months or a year of due dates at one time. If you have to plan in advance a lot at work, that can be a problem. Habitica really only works for planning a day to a week in advance, depending on how many tasks that you have. The way I've gotten around this in the past is just keeping an external list in my bullet journal of like the tasks with due dates, and then once a week entering any of those tasks that are coming up into Habitica based on that daily to-do list, but it's not going to automatically organize your daily to-do list like Todoist will. However, what makes Habitica so fun, and one of the reasons I love it so much, even though you can't advance plan, is when I check it off, I get gold and I get experience, and sometimes I find other items that I can use in the game. So that's really fun and motivating. And what do you do with these things? Well, so the experience allows you to level up just like you do in Todoist. So I am a level 27 now, and I have, I think, about a little over 300 experience points to get to the next level. And I want to get to the next level, so that motivates me to get my tasks done. You can also spend that gold on rewards. So Habitica automatically allows you to spend gold on things for your character to wear, or ways to customize your avatar, which is this little thing up here. And then you can also add your own custom reward. So I haven't done that because I find the experience points and gold motivating enough. But if I wanted to, I could say, I will spend 10 or 100 pieces of gold on a cookie. So if I have 10 or 100 pieces of gold and I want to, I can buy a cookie and I can go get a cookie in real life. So that's something that can be motivating and nice. Quick thing about this little mechanic up here, this is your health bar. You need to complete all of your dailies or you will lose some health every day. So one thing that I would make sure of is just minimize the number of recurring tasks that you have. Don't make sure that this is not too long. Otherwise, it can get really overwhelming. The other workaround is just to simply permanently check your character into what's called the in. The in is a mechanic in Habitica that allows you to shut off any penalties for missing dailies. It's usually used while people are on vacation, but many people just permanently check their character in there because you can still check off to-dos while you're while you're in the inn, and that prevents you from losing health and getting penalized for not completing all your dailies if you're overwhelmed by that mechanic. The final thing I will show you about Habitica today is that Habitica is social, and that's going to be something that's super motivating to many people and not something traditionally associated with planning systems. So that's something that I really like. So this is my friend over here. They also are on Habitica, and we have a party together. So if I go to this, this is the shops tab that I wasn't planning on showing you today, whoops. So this is the party tab. My friend and I are on a quest, which is the reason I am not checked into the inn, because you do not make progress on quests if you are checked into the inn. But if you are on a quest with a friend who is also using Habitica, you cannot see each other's tasks, but every time you check off a task, you have a likelihood of finding something that will help in a quest that you're doing together. So Abby can see that I've been doing my stuff because every time that I find shards, it is logged in my logbook. So that can be kind of motivating, because if I haven't found anything in a while, she can kind of nudge me and say, hey, we need to make progress on this quest. There's also broader social media functionalities. You do not have to use them, but they have groups and guilds that you can join if you would like. So that is, what's up?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we're out of time. So probably, yeah, big time. I've been trying to tell you this for a few minutes now. So I think maybe what you can do is share the rest of the tools like you wanted to. I know you wanted to share Trello, so whatever, we can share that in your page, and we can send people a note of your demonstration of that.
Sure.
And just like wrap it up, like give people your final thoughts.
All right, guys, we planned too much for the hour. Whoops. All right. So basically, let me get you back to the presentation real quick, and I will just scroll through to the final slide. All right. Okay. So Habitica and Todoist are two of the, I think, two really good examples of what is out there. I was going to show you Trello today. I didn't get the chance, but it's just a really different system, which is why I packed it in. But I think the question now is put in the chat a yes if you would like to switch to a digital task management system after hearing the presentation today. And I will, I'm going to say, if you need to go, please feel free to go. We will be sending you follow-ups, including the links of the task management tools that I didn't get to today in order after this presentation. However, if you have any questions, I am going to stay on for a few minutes to answer any questions you have. So thank you so much for attending the presentation today. I really appreciate it. If you want to ask me any questions and you can't stay behind, we put my email on there. Of course, it's also going to go out in the email in a day or so. And I am starting a time management coaching business where I work one-on-one with clients. So if you are interested in that, either send me an email or check out my website.
And I showed up here again just to say thank you so much.